Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Cleveland Heights City Council Finance Committee meeting for October 14th, 2025 at 6 o'clock in the City Hall Executive Conference Room, which for the record is 89 degrees because the air conditioning is not working. We won't complain about it too much. I am the acting chair, Jim Posh. Let's call roll. Vice Chair Anthony Maddox here. The chair member, president of council. Here. Gail Larson. Director Harrison, we're probably gonna have most of the conversation with you. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself, although most of us know you and your staff, so.
So I'm the finance director, Rodney Hairston. I'd also like to introduce my assistant director, Rashawn Caldwell. And my HR performance manager, April Harrison. I have a new addition to my team who I'd like to introduce and tell you a little bit about. Her name is Tiffany Ware. Tiffany is with us for about a little over a month now. She her parents were in the Navy, so she traveled around a lot growing up, but she spent some time in the DC area, in Youngstown area. She got her bachelor's degree in business administration from Kent State University. She got her master's degree, her MBA, from Youngstown State University. She is a certified public accountant or CPA, and she's also a notary. And she joins my team from the Metro Health system. So welcome to you again.
Hello, pleasure to be here.
And we have Councilmember Craig Cobb, who is really taking a chance wearing that heavy sweater.
I know.
I'm ready to take off
I got hot as.
Yeah, I'm ready to take off the dress shirt, but I guess that would be appropriate. Well, moving forward with our agenda, first item is a discussion about our most recent financial statements, and we're looking for our director to give us a walkthrough and answer some questions.
All right, so I have a handout. So I'm gonna send a couple down this way. Addie.
You have an extra one, why don't you pass one right behind you, so Melody Hart has one, just so they can follow along since they're here.
I got two. All right, so let's talk about unencumbered fund balance of all funds. First page, cash balance, January 2nd. So our 2025 amount's about 110 million. Then we're showing year-to-date revenue of 50.1 and year-to-date expenditures 56. Our expenditures are up by 30%, largely due to capital spending from ARPA funded projects. So our fund balance on June 30th is 91 million. On to the next page. We'll talk a little bit about revenue. First and foremost, our total revenue for 2025 at mid-year is 50.1 million. Looking at the total budget of 100.2 million for the year, we are on track to meet or exceed in our 2025 revenue projection. Some of the things to point out are municipal income tax revenue increased by 6%. Charges for services is up 1.4. Property taxes are up by 24% due to the 6-year tax reassessment, which became effective January 2024. Our intergovernment contracts increased by 132%, and we've had a very successful year in grant revenue.
Like to let the record straight, Ms. Evita Russell has joined us.
Plenty of copies.
Magician over there.
Next page is a pie chart, which just shows a breakdown of our revenue. You know, the longest blue, the blue part is our municipal tax. I believe the tax rate in Cleveland Heights is about 2.25%. And then charges for services is the orange part of the pie chart. And then our property tax revenue is the grayish part, which is our third largest stream of revenue. The next page is some discussion about expenses. And first thing that I'd like you to kind of take a look at is the 2025 second column, 2025 budget percent used, 42.2%. So that number, you know, should be at 50%, or we're at mid-year, but it's at 42%. As we are underspending. And so let's see here. Let's take a look at personal services. Personal services, 27.9 million. That number would be closer to 30. Other than personal services, budget was 39 million. We're at 13. So that number would be closer to 20. And then capital at 34, half of 34 is about 17. We're at 14. So we're underspending in a lot of these areas. Less than planned.
Mayor, you wanna sit closer, you good? Mayor Kuda has joined us. Okay, so just give me a little time to digest some of this stuff here.
Okay.
So this is as of June 30th, and we've had some the Archer survey increases, which I believe are retroactive.
Yes,
Those haven't hit this line yet.
they have
I
not.
believe.
They have not. A lot of those increases took place in the July and August timeframe. So I believe we will have. So we had a really productive close this month of October. When I started here, it was taking about 45 days to close the books. We closed them this month in about 11 days.
Okay, that's good.
So I envision having some financial reports for this group probably as soon as later on this week.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe by like Thursday or Friday, I'll have third quarter reports that I can circulate to this team.
That I was just gonna ask about that, because that would be very, very beneficial as we head into budget season.
Yes. Well, I have the capabilities now to quickly report financial information to this group. So I put together quite a team. So things are evolving, and the delays that you experienced early in the year will be no more.
It's good to hear.
Wonderful.
Very good to hear. So for most of the budget process, we'll have actuals as of through the end of the third quarter.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and I envision having actual data for you on a monthly basis now. Yeah.
Monthly?
Yes.
That'd be fabulous.
Yes.
That would be
Yeah, we're
fabulous.
there. We are there now.
So, the fourth quarter, just to give us some estimates, now, I think the fourth quarter would probably be more the most normal year we're gonna have, the most normal quarter we're gonna have. Mostly because all these other exceptions with the pay increases and all the retroactive pay should already be behind us. I mean, do you think you'll be able to give us some accurate end of year forecasts
Yes, we have that capability now.
at some point during the budget process, maybe November timeframe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without question. Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So when you say that you have the capabilities now, is it due to more staff or is it due to technology? Or improvement in technology?
It's really due to assembling a staff with specific skill set.
Okay.
So when I joined, my very first concern was payroll.
Mhm.
We were struggling to meet payroll. So that's the first problem that I addressed with a hire and a reassignment of another employee, an existing employee. The second thing that I went after was we were significantly behind on our audit. So I brought in Assistant Director Caldwell, and she immediately dove into the 2023 audit as well as the 2024 audit. So my next task was financial reporting. Council was very disappointed with our ability to report financial data. So in that, it's funny how fate works. The mayor asked 7 employees to take a class, governmental accounting class at the corporate college at Tri-C.
Mhm.
And he participated, the former mayor. And we're all over there. And this young lady very humbly announced that she had just lost her position at Metro Health. And I had a conversation with her. We discussed a number of skill sets that she had. And I felt she would be an ideal fit for what I was looking for. And we interviewed her and brought her on board. And she is amazing.
That's
So
awesome. Do you like go-go? Saw DC at it.
so she has the skills that we need at the city of Cleveland Heights to give you the level of financial reporting that you need in order to make decisions.
So you wanna stick with the current software?
No. She complains about it as much as I do,
Keep complaining, please.
but we wanna move to the VIP software that so many other municipalities that surround us use. And we're just looking forward to getting that into the capital plan and moving forward in 2026 with some updated software.
Thank you.
So there were a few things that were left off of this agenda after a discussion with our city administrator, Sharon Dumas. And one of them was the financial system review that is to come next month at our meeting. So I think we're just focusing on current finances, getting some updates. We've got other items here.
And you know what? What were you talking about this? We can move 6, because I'm putting together a presentation for you guys, so you can remove that from today if that helps at all. I'm gonna send you guys a broader presentation at the next meeting.
I'm sorry, you're actually gonna have to get the presentation tonight. No, actually, that's fine with me. I wanted to make sure we had a placeholder
No, I
and we gave you
appreciate
the time
it. As I'm
because
looking
we
at
needed.
this, I realized we're heading to budget, and I'm fine with that. I should have said something earlier.
So we're on page 4 or 5, the semi-annual expenditure budget review, which I think you're in the process of explaining to us, and we were digesting. We used only 42% of the budget, but we know in actuality it's gonna be a lot more.
Once we start looking at the third quarter, you're gonna see where the Archer study raises, the local 860, those increases will show up in your third quarter. So again, I envision being able to get that third quarter report to you by the end of this week.
So some of this is really gonna be mooted, so we really receive that.
The next page, you've got this bar chart. And based on my research, 2022 is where we received the ARPA money. And then 2025, we are doing the ARPA projects. So
it's really the first year that we've seen our expenses exceeding our revenues.
And which is driven by the ARPA projects.
Right.
And then the next page, we go into discussion about the general fund. And we're showing the municipal income tax revenue, property tax revenue. Property tax revenue up 29%. Uni income tax up 5.9%. And for your muni, 4 to 7% is about your average growth.
Chairman Posh,
Yes.
the interest is diminishing, and so is that also due to the fact that we're using up the ARPA funds? So we're not earning as much interest on that?
Yes, and I also had a discussion regarding interest earnings, the gentleman Fifth Third Bank. And some of it is related to timing. We invest in treasury bonds. They come to a point of maturity and then they get reinvested and we get coupon payments. So we get 2 coupon payments a year, one in mid-year and then one at the end of the year. So he said it's better to look at the full year because we'll get that end of the year coupon payment on our bonds.
Thank you.
The next page is a pie chart. It shows kind of a breakdown of the general fund revenue. With the blue section, the municipal income tax revenue, and then the gray section is the property tax. Those are the large income streams. And then the next page is expenditure comparison for the general fund. Again, if you look at 2025 expenditures, we're at 27 million versus a total budget of 60. So if that number was closer to 30, we would be right on track. But we're definitely spending lower than planned, or about 45.2% in the general fund.
So your notes at the bottom, the bullets where you say the personal services have increased 20% due to labor related expenses. Are these one-time expenses or are they negotiated contracts? Those are gonna obviously be continual, but we've had increases, one-time pay adjustments pretty much across.
So some of it's related to hiring. Our hospitalization expenses increased. It did factor in some salary increases. So we have hired in these areas. Again, hospitalization and some salary increases. So I'm looking for more impact, more clarity after we produce the third quarter reports.
Okay.
She was first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the retro that we paid to the unions that we settled with this year and the retro Archer again would be coming, we will see reflect. Do you see some of that retroactive pay reflected in the second quarter, or do you think the majority of that will be in third quarter?
Majority of it will be in the third quarter because I was part of those negotiations, especially with 860. I sat with the mayor and went through different employees, supervisors, directors, managers, as he estimated what he felt their salary should be based on the results of the Archer study. So, and I remember that being in the July and August timeframe.
Okay.
So I think the report that you're really gonna wanna see going forward is this third quarter report. I think that'll give you a better reflection of how we're gonna end the year.
Thank you.
Director Harrison, I know that the medical insurances are going to start to go kind of rocket high. Are you doing anything to prepare for that?
We met with a gentleman from the Alara Group, and not to get off track, not to get off track, but he did say he was very good friends with Councilman Cobb, and we were having a conversation, and he told me, he says this guy can rebound like Dennis Rodman, and that just really caught my attention. So I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name? He's from the Alara Group. He says he used to play basketball with you.
35 years ago.
So I wanted to just throw in that little bit of color commentary. But we met, April and I met with this gentleman, and he said that our claims are running much higher than they anticipated. He said that our workforce, we have an aging workforce. We're top heavy, and that's affecting our claims. So he said that what we're gonna need to budget for 2026 for hospitalization is probably gonna be in the range of 20 to 25% higher. So it's affecting our cost. Our employee base and the makeup of our employees, aging employees is starting to affect our cost structure.
And I understand things that's happening with insurances at the national level may also start to affect municipalities as well as other organizations. So just didn't know if you had anticipated some of those.
He took us through it. He took us through it, yeah. It was not a favorable report. He took us through it, so.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, now that you bring this up, I assume this organization is a benefit management.
Yeah, they're our broker, so they negotiate with Medical Mutual. So they go out and try to find us the best healthcare plan for our organization, so.
But we're self-insured though, is that correct?
We're self-insured on a portion of our benefits. And I can't remember if it's medical or dental, but only on a portion. We're not fully self-insured.
For an organization our size, where it'd be more fiscally beneficial to be self-insured? This is something that we can talk about as more of a long-term plan. But it would certainly seem with an employee count of
450, somewhere around there. It's definitely something worth investigating.
Is there a municipality consortium for municipalities or no?
a buying group.
I think PEP might be a consortium of municipalities.
Okay.
I know they do our vehicle insurance, and I think they do our property and casualty insurance. These are some things I can investigate for you. Zach.
Okay. I know a lot of the schools have consortiums to kind of cut down on some of the costs.
Mm-hmm.
My question is actually not for you. It's for Councilman Cobb. I see your face. And I was like, I kept reading. I'm like, I'm dying to know what you're thinking. Because I know this is your wheelhouse too. So I was just curious about the conversation. Just looking at your face, I'm like, it seems like there was something on your mind.
No, I'm just thinking about medical
Basketball?
costs and
Okay.
how they're skyrocketing and what we can do as an organization to try and encourage our employees to live healthy lifestyles and do things that will drive our premiums down. And I don't know whether we have any such programs, like encouraging gym memberships, encouraging them not to smoke, to make changes in their lifestyle, because it seems that we need to be doing something more proactive in order to reduce our premium. Because I recall years ago, we had a couple of spouses of employees that had cancer, and it drove our premiums out the roof. That's just what I was thinking about as I'm shopping for Medicare health insurance right now, and how expensive everything is going up.
I think Medical Mutual have some of those wellness programs that employees could actually get into as well.
You get lower rates if you pass a variety of different tests: blood pressure, hypertension, BMI.
I'm pretty sure we participate in the LARC program through Medical Mutual, which is one of those health programs.
We do have a few options, including like our EAP and the different wellness program through Medical Mutual and different ones that we do sign up with. And I will say maybe we can make a bigger push for our employees to participate in those programs, because they do exist. We do have that, and there's a lot of opportunity, including the gym membership at the Cleveland Heights Recreation or Community Center additionally. So those are some different options that people can take advantage of. So we just probably need to push it and advertise it more, if you will.
Is that membership free for employees?
It's $5.
Oh, it's still $5, okay.
A year, $5 a year.
$5 a year.
Yes.
Awesome.
And $5 a year should be free.
City
Cost
council get that
$5 a
same rate?
semester.
No,
It's a good question.
no,
You can't beat that.
See, also get that same rate.
I think this insurance and benefit management thing needs to be on a future agenda item. I'm not sure we'll be able to digest it in November, knowing that it's high budget season.
I appreciate this,
But
it
let's
wasn't
try
even
to
on my
think.
radar that way, the shifts, so.
You're still in your presentation.
Yeah, the final page is, I believe you all have a copy of this, but I didn't get included in the presentation. It's just a budget schedule, and so we're working with the departments. We're trying to get everything entered. Working on, salaries, benefits. We call that above the line. Everything else below the line. So this week we're very, very actively working on the 2026 operating budget.
So we're gonna have a discussion about our budget later on in this meeting. Anything else with the
That's it.
So I'm very glad to see more backtracking and communication of what our amended budget is compared to these numbers in these sets of financials. And I'm really happy that you included them. This is something that we need to be tracking against. And I think, yes, September is going to be getting the third quarter is really going to be beneficial. And what's really going to be the home run is the projections to the end of the year for the budget process. That's really going to be the real home run for us, I think.
I didn't know where to park this, but I know we've already had the conversation about it, and I guess this would be for you too. Just anything the council can do to help promote anything, such as waiving the community center fee for a year in January or something, just announce the drive that, let us know. Because anything we can do to invest in that does help save that, I'm definitely for it. If it's only $5, but it'll allow us to promote it and get them to sign up, I'm for that. I don't know about the rest of the council, but if something else from a program standpoint we can do now, because I'm just thinking about the next quarter, everyone's thinking end of the year, they're thinking fresh for 2026, everybody wants to be beach ready. So I'm just thinking of what we could do now. So if there's something we can do, please let us know.
We may want to have a conversation with Sharon Dumas, who might be able to come up with some things, because I'm sure she's seen that in her world.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
how far are we to getting our bond rating back?
That was a question we had for this agenda. We were asked to remove it for a more full-featured conversation next month.
Sorry. I'm a guest today, so I don't have an agenda.
It was on the list. We had quite a number of things. It was decided that, we're gonna be here for 3 hours and let's just focus on these things that are sort of will get us into the budget mode. And those asks were made by Sharon Dumas, and
Oh, no problem.
I respected her.
No problem.
Chairman Bosch.
Yes.
What information are we able to obtain from Rita regarding the number of taxpayers and whether the increase in our income tax collection is the result of additional taxpayers, or is it the result of increased salary? I don't know if we're able to obtain that kind of information or not. There are also rumors that this Metro Health Hospital may end up closing. And I'd be interested if we can determine what kind of impact that might have on the city.
Metro Health?
there is rumors that that facility is going to close.
The one there downtown?
No, the
No,
one
one
here.
here.
Severance.
The one in
Oh,
Severance.
Severance,
Facility.
okay.
They're trying to save it.
He said, wait a minute, downtown. They still own.
I just like to be able to come up with a reason as to why our income tax has been increasing. We never have suffered a diminution in the income tax rates, even going back during COVID.
Are you asking about Metro Health in relation to, let's say hypothetically, they have 500?
Hypothetically, if, there were 200 employees over there at an average salary of 75 or 80,000, and it may be higher than that. I'd just be curious to know whether the number of actual taxpayers that we have is growing in this city versus diminishing, or is our increase due to a stable number that is earning more than they previously did?
Oh, you're talking about the RETA tax.
The RETA income
So,
tax.
so what you're saying is if they close both the medical center and they close the behavioral health center and the emergency room, if there's 200, 300 people that are all of a sudden out of work and not working in Cleveland Heights, that's gonna have a very negative impact on our revenue.
Taxpayers.
Right, and then separate and apart from that, I just like to know if we're able to determine, why we're having this growth in our income tax revenue. Do we have an increasing number of taxpayers apart from Metro Health?
So I can speak a little bit to that. I did speak with our rep from RETA earlier today, and he indicated, because that was one of the questions that we had internally, is why we saw the increase from 21 to 25. And one of the things, he's actually doing an analysis for us, but one of the things he indicated is that as I think when Progressive closed, a lot of those employees started to work from home. And so then that waived or basically offset that credit, that 1% credit. And so a lot of that is due to more employees paying the full 2.25% as opposed to having the credit. Yeah.
I see.
That does make a lot of sense because Progressive went 100% home. Key Bank is almost there for corporate.
Right.
Sherwin-Williams didn't call everybody back. There's a ton of employees still here. I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah, so that's one of the main main drivers that he kind of identified. In terms of the employees, he hasn't, dove that deeply yet, but high level, he said that that's like a main driver. Yeah.
Good.
That explains Mayfield Village is here.
Oh, yeah, it's, any other questions regarding our most recent financial statements? Okay, I'm gonna move on to agenda item 3, which is a discussion and review of financial items that will be presented to council as legislation in the next 30 days. So these are things that, just to help us get, understand a little bit about what's coming down the legislative pike. We were getting some things from the former mayor's office that were surprises, like you need to increase your budget by $1 million, $1.4 million. So I guess the question we have for the finance department, are you aware of anything that's coming down the pike that's going to have an impact, or that we should know in advance, or you can help us better understand in advance?
So I discussed this with Assistant Director Caldwell. We couldn't come up with much that's been discussed with us. You did talk about $100,000 potential expenditure from the law department.
Yes, so there was some monies that was originally, I think, budgeted maybe under the last year's ARPA funds. However, it wasn't encumbered. And so we have to find 100,000, but the legislation, it was approved. It's just a matter of us identifying the funding from this year's budget, because when everything came over in the soft close, that amount was not included. And so that's one of the larger items that we kind of discussed.
But no one's has approached us, regarding any budget adjustments. So, and these things kind of creep up.
Yeah.
They do. They just walk in and they just say, "Hey, I need $50,000." Like, what? So for right now, today, there's nothing that I foresee.
Addie,
Yeah, is there a budget adjustment that's coming? I may have misunderstood this regarding the police lockers that's coming up on the 20th. I believe Chris Helsel said something about.
They need, I think $560,000. I was thinking council was aware of that though.
I mean, I think council was generally aware that there was the upcoming issue of the lockers, but I just didn't know if you guys had any specifics on that.
It popped up on us, yeah.
Okay.
and that's to come out of unencumbered General Fund 101,
Okay.
I'm asking.
Yes, I wouldn't be able to find that anywhere else but unencumbered cash in Fund 101. I guess they had
Sorry.
they started the locker project and I guess they ran into some issues and
Black mold.
yeah, black mold and things of that. Yeah, HVAC. So just a number.
I know that that the chief said that if we could take some funds from the personnel that just, jobs that didn't get filled and move it over. I don't know if that's something you can do.
It's something I can definitely investigate. So
He said there's some money
okay.
that could be moved. So we don't have to get into the,
Was this Chief Harry?
no,
Britain.
Brittany. Okay.
I mean, we're really not seeing any savings right now under the expense budget because of,
she's got 8 or 9 openings, so.
In the police maybe.
yeah, but
Is he
the
gonna hire?
expenses, even though that we're not hiring at full capacity, our expense numbers are higher because of all the additional raises that we've given this year. It's pretty much, it looks, my gut feelings is we've pretty much washed that out.
I mean, it might, and then there's overtime when you have, less people, they do more overtime and that's expensive.
Chairman,
Yes.
I would ask, since this is the second time that we've had this situation where the ARPA funds were not encumbered, if you haven't already, will you cross-check from what we authorized for ARPA expenditures and make sure that within the accounts that they were encumbered? Because I don't think any of us want those surprises anymore.
I think the last time this happened, we asked that same question,
Yeah,
didn't we?
yeah, but
I mean,
it's high, it's on their radar now, so I appreciate that very much, and I just want to get confirmation from you that we're done with those situations.
well, we're becoming more functional as opposed to dysfunctional. So I think hopefully we're able to,
The big picture.
yeah, I
Do we know if Chief Britton is gonna do any hiring at all?
think he's trying. In the safety committee meeting, he was telling us, we didn't have the safety committee, but we went over the things that he was gonna discuss, and one of them, he's still down 10% of his force.
There are job postings.
Yeah, no, I was wondering about the money that we were talking about using for the people we had not hired. And we may need that money for people once he start to hire people.
Well, I think that's gonna be the surprise that we're gonna be going through this budget process, but I think when you forecast it out, I mean, we've sort of seen this sense of normalcy where we're down, and you could argue whether it's 30, whether it's 40 people. But for the last 2 years, we've been down at that salary level, and we're gonna find out, we're gonna be making budget with this lower number this year. We just might need to just resize our workforce in order to, cover the additional costs we've taken on with the higher salaries. I mean, I think this is something that we're gonna be figuring out in November once we start seeing the September statements. We still don't know. And I was hoping for Park Synagogue, we'd have another $2 million out of personnel savings, and I guess we'll see.
There is another, you are talking about possible budget adjustment stuff that might come down the pike. One thing I found out was that King Park doesn't put in their yearly budget a budget for the season coming the next year. And that is a bit of a problem because this is the time when the Evans Theater should be booking acts for next year, and some do require a deposit. And so there may be an ask. Now, it's really not gonna change the overall budget for the Kane Park summer season. It's just that we didn't budget properly for that. So when we're budgeting for, like, say, when we're doing the budget for 2026, included in that budget should be a budget for the 2027 season. Not the whole season, but the amount of money that we need for booking acts and so forth. So it's,
For 2027.
I'm saying as we're putting together the 2026 budget, in the fall
We'll be
of 2026,
putting the deposits down.
there should be a budget for the 2027 season. I mean, whatever that is, for the deposits and so forth.
So if we did that last year, it would be in the budget for last year, which
So we didn't.
I know we didn't, so it sounds like we can't be doing that this year.
It's just a flaw that I found in talking with the director. Recognized,
Yeah, that's,
and
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the things we're gonna have to fix. But good point.
I just, just in case, I didn't want you to be blindsided by this.
So when we're looking at budget book, we should expect to see that as a line item within his department.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, a quick question on Kane Park. Are we going to be able, Director, are we gonna be able to get an accounting on Kane Park this year? Something that this council has been looking for a long time. Is that a question we need to direct to someone else other than you?
You mean a full audit of Kane Park?
Yeah. I mean, we still don't know what we're spending, what our losses are. Are we making money on Kane Park?
There's a budget performance report that we should be able to run for that fund. Is that something that would be useful? It would show the revenues versus the expenses that have.
Yeah, so you almost need a P&L for that.
There's a report, that you can run for Kane Park. For that, because it's a separate fund. And so it can be ran at that level to reflect, inflows and outflows.
And it should answer some of your questions.
You should be able to get, with the system you have in place, that's something I would imagine you could generate at a moment's notice.
Now, if there's more, detail, we might have to pull, but just high level, like expenses, and revenues. That would be important.
Well, we have asked for that and we've been stymied. And we've been told, well, it's gonna be more, as in, well, yeah, we know we subsidize it, but then we never see anything. So I would like to see it. And it's probably gonna come up in our budget conversations when we are, at the time when we're talking about our Parks and Rec and Kane Park.
Let's see what we can generate for you.
That'd be great.
And it would be good to have ticketed events, non-ticketed events, Alma, because that's Alma's kind of a separate thing with the theater.
Ticketed events and non-ticketed events.
Yeah.
Okay.
And concessions, is that?
Should be part of it.
It should be all part of it.
Well, yeah, the concessions are part of both.
If I could, I just think that we expect a level of transparency now on our finances and the reporting with Mayor Kuda's backing that we were not previously given.
Okay.
That needs to change.
Okay.
I think there's things where, Kane Park is such a big expense. I think you focus on that, but I think over time, there's gonna be things where we're gonna be looking, for example, at the pool, the swim programs. I'm not asking for anything like this right now, but just sort of, coming down the pike. If we're asked to do any major build out or reconfiguration of a public pool, we're probably gonna wanna get a sense of really how much are we really subsidizing that property. Because we know pretty much everything we do is subsidized. Whether it's an athletic program, so we're not making money on it, we're getting some revenues, but we're not really making money on this. And the whole point of Kane Park is I'm not sure we really want to be making money on Kane Park, but we don't want to be losing our shirt either.
If we're, losing $1 million a year on rock concerts, then maybe we shouldn't be in the rock concert business.
Yeah.
Plays, I have no issue or problem with, but the music acts, you know, we have to look at that, but we don't know whether we're making money or losing money on the rock concerts and the pop concerts.
But the Isley Brothers, they're not rock. Can we keep them?
I'm sorry.
Isley
Brothers, Then we make
They're in the
money.
boy band. They're in the boy band.
Brothers and Wilco, we made money.
They can't
And
cut
then
rock.
there were 10 other concerts that were pretty close.
We're sold
Now,
out.
what about rock
Those two were,
musicals?
Wait a minute, whole city went up.
Everybody's asking.
Everybody.
Okay, moving forward here.
Put that in the budget, Isley Brothers.
Okay, so no more items that, which is sort of maybe we should be calling the surprise line of. Okay, moving on to item number 4, which is the status update of the 2023 and 2024 state audits. There's a sub B to this about forensic audit, but we can talk about that in a little bit. Let's focus on what we know first, or what we don't know. There you go.
I am gonna give you a brief overview of the status for our 2023 and 2024 audit. I'd like for Assistant Director Caldwell to take you through some of the details. She came into the organization, she owned this, she saw it through, and she is the one who deserves all the credit for this 2023 audit. We were given a clean opinion. There was no material weaknesses. And we were considered in a very strong financial position. So LaShawn, would you walk us through that?
So at the last finance committee on August 19th, we had anticipated having the audit complete by the end of that month. Due to a couple items that took a little longer than expected, that was delayed. We ended up, actually, I think it wrapped up at the end of September. On October 3rd, the auditor shared a draft report to the city, as Rodney mentioned, reflecting a clean or a modified opinion on our financials for fiscal year 2023. This means that the financial records and material respects are accurate, complete, and in full compliance with GAAP. Now, the next step is for the state to review and release the audit on its website. I checked this morning, it had not been released. So I guess they're still in the review phase for that. Some of the key highlights: no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies were identified in our internal controls. Funds were accounted for properly. Budgetary compliance was maintained across the funds and departments. And despite a slight fund balance decrease of a little over $400,000 for the general fund, the overall fund balance increased by $10 million from 2022, and the city maintained a strong financial position, including healthy reserves and responsible debt management. The main thing I wanted to point out, another really good highlight, is that two of the items that we had, or two of the findings that we had, which is a higher level, finding from the auditors, were either reclassified or removed altogether from 22 to 23. So capital asset accounting, the finding summary, it was a finding. Status was partially corrected and it was reissued as a management letter comment in 23. Financial reporting, we had some understatements and overstatements of funds in 22 that was corrected, and we did not have any comments for that in 23. Some of the management comments, like I said, immaterial, not anything earth-shaking. Some things include communicating the fraud reporting system to the employees, recommendation that the city distributes the public records policy and gets that signed off by our custodian, ensuring that the financials are filed within the guidelines, or requesting that an extension be granted well before deadline, arrives. IT related periodic password changes, procedures for all of the system users. In addition, implementing multi-factor authentication to help ensure data is protected and accessed by authorized individuals. Recommendation that all fiscal officers for the city complete the training education requirement per the Ohio Revised Code. And also making sure that our purchase orders are issued before any expense occurs. There were some findings there. And last but not least, they did mention that we need to create a list of infrastructure, our capital assets infrastructure owned by doing an appraisal account of the capital asset inventory. So I think we rolled that figure over from the previous year. They want us to do an appraisal for that to get an accurate accounting of where we are, currently. And so those were the 7 management comments that they kind of, highlighted.
So this last item, number 7, about the capital asset inventory, so is that gonna hold up the 2024 process?
Well, see, the thing is that I don't know that we might be able to get CBIZ to come in and do something, but my thought is that maybe we just roll that over again and address it fully for 2025 is the thought. It's because right now it's a management comment. Some of these things are like past and it's like year-end cut-off supplies, et cetera. And so the thought is, can we just roll this over another year, 2025? Get, either get an accounting from some of our internal staff, because that's one of the things is just trying to figure out where. Yeah. And so that was the thought there. Regarding our 2024 financial statements and audit update, the 2024 financials are about 60% complete. We had hoped to be a little bit further along. We have, some other personnel, but at the time, it's kind of myself and Rodney and the staff, we were trying to catch up on other things and, certifications with the county, et cetera. And so that kind of redirected our attention away from the financials. However, I expected, kind of jump back on that and focus my attention, on this to get it wrapped up. Hopefully by the end of this month, fingers crossed. Go ahead.
Before you go on, so have we asked for an extension on 2024 then?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so how much more time do we have on that?
Well, they give you like 30 days, and then if you don't, then you have to re-up, and
Okay.
you just kind of keep getting these 30-day extensions.
Okay,
So,
because we are past the due date, so I just want.
well, I guess there was a period where there was no communication. So they were reaching out and no one was getting back to them. And that's what really got them frustrated. So they're very happy now because they feel like, things are on the right track.
Okay.
So they're seeing us make progress. They're seeing the 2023 complete, they're seeing, correspondence on the 2024. So they have restored confidence in the city of Cleveland Heights now that these things are going to be delivered. And then in 2025, we will be back on track.
Yes.
I have one more question. Number 6, do you see any patterns coming out of certain departments where things have been purchased without a purchase order?
It's not so much as purchased without a purchase order, it's just that the services have occurred prior to a purchase order being issued. So we can't pay anything without the purchase order being in
Right.
place first. But, John and I have had some conversations about that. It's something that we kind of want to get some type of communication out just to refamiliarize and let everybody know, hey, this is the process. You have to get a PO before you go out and, order goods or, order services. And so, no pattern for a particular department or anything like that, but it's something that is still occurring. Maybe not at the level identified here, but it's still happening to some degree.
So vendors aren't necessarily requiring a PO from the city before they provide the services then either, right?
Well, it may be that they think it's in process, they think that we have it handled and it's not fully, through the system or whatever approval process that it needs to, go through. But yeah, we definitely have something, some work to do on that.
Okay, thank you.
Question, without getting into any details, are you aware of any situations where we've paid in excess of $50,000 to anyone without a contract that was approved by city council?
I'm not aware of any now. Yeah,
Okay.
I think John does a really good job of stopping that. So if it's, it's a timing thing in terms of you want your contract appeal to be in place, but I haven't seen where he has released payment before something like that is in place. You see what I'm saying? So it's more of putting the cart before the horse and just making sure that that's rectified.
So it should be noted that we have another agenda item that was gonna be on this month's, but it will be on next month's, and this is regarding the legislation that council passed. For everything between $750,000 and $500,000 get posted on the website, and whose responsibility that is, and how are we making out on that?
I may have an update for you.
Okay.
We got information today during our meeting with President Kuda and City Administrator Dumas that there is, what's the employee's name that's assigned to that task of pulling those contracts together? Steve, the contracts that we talked about, 7,500 to 50,000, that haven't been posted to the website, but there's an employee who is pulling all that information together, putting it in a digital file so that Addie can have access to that digital file so it can be posted.
Yeah, I wrote it down, but I don't have it.
But yeah, even if we don't know his name, there is somebody that's doing that with the intent that it will be authorized by Mayor Kuda so that it can be posted out there on the website.
Okay, good. Good update, thank you. So the 2024 financials that are 60% complete, so have they gotten to Zupka yet? So is this, we have another 40% work in order to get the information to Zupka so they can do the gap conversion?
I believe, I'm gonna have to divert to Assistant Director Caldwell. I know we've gotten some information to Zupka, are we waiting for Scott on the 2024 audit?
So we're still working on the financials for 2024. We're about 60% complete with that, and that's what I was mentioning, that we have to, get some items over to kind of complete that process in
And
terms of.
those go to Scott, and then once that, he produces
does
a
our gap
report, then it goes to Zupka, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Once we're kind of done with the financial statement compilation, typically before that, you would have your auditors come in, but they indicated that they're gonna wait until everything gets submitted because it's easier at this point, and they're gonna come in and start doing testing. Right now, they said that they're working on the school district, so they're wrapping up that, so they really don't have a lot of time to allocate, to the city, but once that's done, they're gonna start coming in here and working with us. So that gives us a little bit of time to wrap up 2024s, but that's where we are with that.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts about this?
We do have a question. When the state is done, will they be presenting to us?
Presenting,
Like, if, the last time we had an audit that was completed, we had an actual meeting where I think Counselor Cobb and I were the only ones that attended,
okay,
but they did come in and present their findings.
okay.
I believe we can have them come in.
From Zupka?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we can request that.
Yeah, they'll come in.
It's not the state that makes the presentation? Your contacts
I don't
with
think
the
so. I
state?
think it was somebody from Zupka.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can probably follow, they'll know if they were here or not. So.
No, we had some people from the state of Ohio.
Did we have?
Yeah.
I know that Zupka just got put back on our audit, so it depends on when that was. I know the state had picked it up for like a year or so, they have
That's
to
probably what
rotate
happened.
off, and so Zupka is back on the audit, so it depends on when that was. That may be why the state did it versus
Yeah,
Zupka.
I think that's right, that they
Yeah.
came in here because they were the ones that had been
Right,
asked to do it that time.
sure.
So there's a part B to this number 4 agenda item, and that is a discussion of a potential fiscal forensic audit. I mean, now that we're seeing some movement, now that we have a clean financial, we have a clean audit that's coming in here with essentially no findings. I think that should increase the comfort level of our community. I'm not sure going out looking for a forensic audit at this time makes any sense. What does everybody?
The residents
about
that I spoke to never thought it was necessary. Considering the work that our finance department was doing, I still don't think it's necessary, but it's up to the majority members of council.
The city administrator, Ms. Dimmons, she said that when we talked to her about it, that she didn't think it was necessary at this time, that the numbers were sufficient, and she felt that everything would move smoothly, and that she didn't see a need for it at this time.
She also said it was very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're looking at expenses right now, it's not a good time.
Well, I think what we do is we sort of keep this as a placeholder and see where we are with the 2024 audit. So, anything else for this item? Okay, so we have item number 5, which is the discussion for the 2026 budget process, which is so everybody's aware, there needs to be a budget prepared legally for council, I believe on
November 1st?
November 1st, yeah. With the November 1st, we have budget hearings set, I believe, for the first 2 weeks of
Starting November 6th.
November.
November 6th was the first one.
We've got 4 days initially as opposed to 3 days initially.
Could you tell,
Do you want me to read off the?
please?
Okay. So November 6th, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the overall budget and finance portion. 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. on November 6th is the mayor's office. 11:30 to noon is law department, and noon to 12:30 is council's. And then the next day, November 10th, is the next hearing, day 2. Muni court is 10 to 11. Police department is 11 to noon. Fire department is noon to 1. Then we have the third day, which is November 12th. Planning department is 10 to 11. Building and the buildings and parks and rec is 11 to noon. And IT is noon to 1. And our final day is November 13th. Community relations is 10 to 11, and public works, sewer, water is 11 to noon.
And I have to leave early on the 12th. Okay.
I do have a question. There are some things I'm working on, like with Director Clinkscale, I'm working on proposing a sidewalk repair program. And it would most likely come in at several $100,000. Is there, when we've had budget hearings in the past, after it's all finalized, then council has brought up the items that we would like to introduce, as we did with the street resurfacing last year. Is there something that we can do to at least give our departments a heads up that this is something that, or give finance a heads up that we might have some expenditures that are in things that citizens have wanted us to do and they haven't gotten done, that don't necessarily fit into the schedule of the budget process that would come in after the fact, like during budget hearings? I'm just asking for some kind of idea of whom we should let know what we're working on.
I mean, shouldn't that happen when we're meeting with Public Works? I mean, this particular example, we're meeting with Public Works, there's hopefully 7 of us at the time discussing our priorities as council.
It can, and it has, that's what we've done historically.
Yeah, and I think that's where you would, bring it up and we, ask the director to find some additional time. I think though in the sidewalk, I think there was also another ask in there, it's like, what are we able to get to offset some of those expenses? Are we able to get a grant? What are other cities doing? Which I know you're already looking at this because we've already discussed it. But I think that's when we ask. I think that's where we.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just think too, as we move forward, it'll be easier, it will become easier because as you have access to the directors and be able to talk more freely, and it's just easier because you'll know all year what that department needs from the director and to be able to add to the budget as well. It's kind of hard when you don't have the inside information from that department of what that department may need. I know it was easier when before when I was Parks and Rec's chair and I had access to Mr. McCray. And so being able to be with him all year to understand when it was budget time, I was able to say the seniors need vans or this is what they needed for the Parks and Rec. So I think it will become a little easier as we move forward.
And that totally is what's happening right now because Director Klingscale in the past was not, I'm not gonna use the word aloud, but there were roadblocks put in place for this kind of a program being requested. And she's meeting with myself and Director Butler tomorrow morning and we're gonna hash it out. So, yeah, thank you.
Chairman.
Yes.
So a few things. One is, what you're gonna get on November 1st is a draft of the budget. We do expect it to change as we go through the process. And I know I didn't send an email out or anything, but I want council to weigh in on this. Like your budget, if you have budget initiatives. Secondly, there's gonna be an election on November 4th. Somebody's gonna be the mayor. I want that person to bring their priorities forward too. Because that's the budget they're gonna have to live with, in the first year of their mayoralship. So I'm just heads up, I'll be asking for the input of that person as well.
I think in addition to that, are we gonna decide if we want to give any voice to the council members-elect? I don't think that's really an
I mean,
appropriate
they're gonna
conversation
get-
for here.
They are gonna get like packets and whatnot, but to prepare them.
I don't know if
Because
we've
that
ever done it
legislation-
before.
Well, we had that legislation that Jim Petrus brought forward last year. I think it was last year, wasn't it last year? For council members elect to be able to get those packets along
Oh,
with you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the packets
So-
of information.
So they won't be, involved necessarily in the actual budget process, but they will be aware of everything going
And
on.
we could encourage them to reach out to a council person and if they've got any issue or initiatives that they would like to see happen, because they'll have that information delivered to them, then I think that's how we go about including them and making them feel part of the process.
Any other questions regarding the budget process for this year? Item number 6, special report from Councilmember Maddox. I believe you're gonna yield and we'll do that the next month. So I added number 7, which is a discussion to confirm a monthly finance committee meeting schedule. I'm actually kind of thinking about how that sort of fits into the budget process. We have an equal number of agenda items that are sort of not what we talked about today. I mean, things like, do we put a capital budget together? What kind of reserves do we have? What's the deal with the bond rating? And I think we're gonna be talking a lot about financial statements through the budget process. I'm thinking near the end of next month or around the third weekish. We'll be busy working with financial statements as council as a whole as we're going through the budget, but we can address some of these other items that sort of impact the budget because of things like reserves, things like, where do we wanna put together a much larger capital plan? I mean, we might need to hire some of this work out because I don't know if we've got the bandwidth for it. So I don't know if that's something that would come out of your budget or council's budget, but I think that's something that I think we need to sort of get on a regular. I think these are conversations we need to have at the finance committee. So do we want to try to pick a date for our finance committee meeting now? Is it appropriate to do that, or would you prefer that we do a doodle poll and try to fit it into the third week of the?
Could I make a suggestion for a date? We have a municipal services meeting on the 18th at 6. Could we do 5 or 7 that day? That would be Tuesday, November 18th.
That's about a perfect time. And what time would that be?
What was that
5 or
date?
7,
Was that day?
the November 18th.
Tuesday the 18th.
That would be then after we've done our budget hearing, so you guys could discuss anything additional.
Did you say 5 or 7?
Either 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock. We have a meeting at 6 o'clock, so I'm trying to kind of bookend either 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Depending on committee members, obviously.
You know, why don't we, are we available?
I could do
Is
that,
it this
and I-
time?
and I would do 5 o'clock.
Well, why don't we put a placeholder for that and then circle back with everybody when it gets closer to that time frame, just to see what's available and what's not available.
I will already be there, so.
We'll do 5 o'clock then, say that, and then I'll just keep a placeholder there.
Okay, we have a room for other business, any other thing that we wanna talk about or discuss. I'm gonna remind everybody, it's still 89 degrees in this room. And we've been able to manage it. So if there's no other items, let's adjourn the meeting. Thank you.